Welcome back, class 10, your civics class, chapter 2, Union Executive, Judicial Powers of the President. Judicial or judiciary means legal, anything relating to law. The President has the power to grant pardon or reduce punishment that a person receives. The President has the power to reduce the punishment that a person receives and can even in certain cases pardon that person. He can grant pardons only in the following cases. Number one, where the punishment or sentence by court is martial, where the punishment is for offense of union laws, and in all cases of sentence of death. So in these three cases, the president can, if he likes, grant pardon. Pardoning power, like most of the powers, are exercised on the advice of Council of Ministers. Obviously, he does not have the absolute power to grant pardon. That too, the Council of Ministers will advise the president. The president is not answerable to any court for the exercise of the powers and duties of his office. No court can question the president why this you have done a certain thing, because he is not answerable to any court. Emergency powers. An emergency is a sudden or unforeseen situation demanding immediate action. So emergency means a certain thing has happened all of a sudden. It is a situation in which the head of the state assumes extraordinary power. The President of India is empowered to declare emergency under three following conditions. Number one, emergency caused by war or external aggression or armed rebellion, that is referred to national emergency or general emergency. Second is emergency on account of the failure of the constitutional mechanism in states. And third is emergency on account of a threat to financial stability of India. Three types of emergencies: general emergency, then constitutional emergency, and financial emergency. Then comes discretionary power. Though the constitution says that the executive power shall be vested in the president, ours is a parliamentary system of government. Although the constitution says that the executive powers will be vested, given to the president, but since we have a parliamentary system of government and we don't have a president, it's not under the president. Therefore, the president is obliged to act on the advice of the Council of Ministers. Whatever the Council of Ministers will say, the president has to listen to them, or to the ministry, or to the council. It does not, however, mean that the president is a mere figurehead. But it does not mean that the president is just a rubber stamp. Situations may arise when the president has to exercise discretion within a reasonable limit. In certain situations may arise where the president can use certain of his own power or discretionary power within a reasonable time span. The constitution does not number one is, the president may withhold the assent to bill or may send it back for reconsideration if it is not a money bill. Obviously, the president, if he thinks that a certain bill has to be reconsidered, it can be sent back for reconsideration, provided that particular bill is not a money bill. But when the thing is sent back again, he has to sign it. Number two, the constitution does not prescribe any time limit within which the president is to declare his assent or refusal or return the bill for reconsideration. The president is at the liberty to decide what is right or proper. Okay, this is quite interesting. Within what time limit the president will return the bill, signed or unsigned, with recommendations or without recommendation? There is no time limit, there is no time span. The president can return the bill, signed or unsigned, with or without recommendations, at his sweet will. No one can force him to say that within 14 days you have to send, within 21 days you have to send, not like that. Number three, a situation may arise when after a general election no party or no leader seems to enjoy majority support of the Lok Sabha. Coalition government. No majority party is formed. So under such circumstances, the president shall have the freedom to decide who should be appointed as the prime minister. During coalition government, the president has the full power to choose the prime minister because no majority party has been elected, has become the, you know, uh, majority party has won. It may be that the prime minister has lost the confidence of the Lok Sabha. Instead of submitting his resignation, the prime minister may ask for the dissolution of the house. In this situation, the president is bound to act on the advice of the prime minister. The president should explore the possibility of forming an alternative government at the center. So, suppose there's no the prime minister has lost confidence in the Lok Sabha. Instead of submitting his resignation, the president may the prime minister may ask the president to dissolve the house. Suppose the prime minister has lost the confidence in the Lok Sabha, so instead of submitting his or her resignation, the prime minister can ask the president to dissolve the house. Number five, the situation may arise when, after the resignation of the prime minister, several leaders stake their claim to succeed him, but they do not stand much chance of giving a stable government. The president can explore the possibility of forming an alternative government, failing which he would dissolve the Lok Sabha. So, suppose the prime minister resigns, there will be a hue and cry of lot of people, those who want to be the prime minister. It is up to the president who can explore the possibility of forming an alternative government. If it is not formed, he can dissolve the Lok Sabha. Now, there are emergency due to war or external aggression is not generally needed in your exam. Emergency due to failure of constitutional machinery is also not generally asked in the examination. What is important is now what is the actual position of president in a parliamentary setup? What is the actual position of the president? Founding fathers of the constitution had expressly rejected the presidential system and proposed a parliamentary form of government. Okay. So, as a constitutional or nominal head of the state, the president is required to exercise powers on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. So, what does it mean? It means that the president is required to exercise the power on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers. The Council of Ministers will help advise the president to take decision. The 44th Amendment Act of 1978 empowers the President to send the advice received from the Council back to them for reconsideration. However, the President is obliged to act in accordance with the advice tendered after such reconsideration. Any advice received by the President from the Council of Ministers, the President can take the advice and see that there's something wrong, he wants to add something, he can send it back to the Council of Ministers for reconsideration. The Council of Ministers can accept the recommendations by the President, might not accept. It is total freedom is given to them. But what happens once it is sent back to the President is obliged to act according to that. Even then, as we have already seen, the situations may arise. The President can make some discretions on his own. Because of the Constitution has expressed the hope that the President would be a good man who will have the authority and dignity in India and abroad. So the President's influence can be very effective if he forgets all past political affiliations and act always in a complete impartiality. See, the President can come from any party. The President can come from, without any party political background. Like Dr. Kalam, he did not have any political background. Certain presidents might have a political background, but just for example, uh, late Pranab Mukherjee, his background was from the Congress. But once he becomes a president, he has to forget the past affiliations, political affiliations, to work impartially. Now we come to the Vice President of India. Qualifications. Now, before that, the Constitution provides for a Vice President whose office is comparatively insignificant. Qualifications of election. In order to be elected as the Vice President, the President must be citizen of India, must not be less than 35 years of age, must be qualified for election as a member of the Rajya Sabha. He should not hold an office of profit under the government of India or government of any state. These are the qualifications, more or less same as the president. Term of office. Normal term of office of the vice president is 5 years. However, he continues to hold the office until his successor enters upon his office. The vice president may resign from his office before the expiry of the term by writing to the president. Removal. The vice president is removed by resolution of the Rajya Sabha passed by a majority of its members and agreed by the Lok Sabha. Very important. Resolution of the Rajya Sabha passed by a majority of members and agreed by the Lok Sabha. It should be noted that there is no provision for impeachment of vice president. The vice president cannot be impeached. The president, the judges of the Supreme Court, High Court can be impeached, but the president cannot. Allowances is not asked. It is said that it is raised to 1,25,000 per month in 2008, and it is okay. Vice President discharges the functions of the President if he ceases the duty of the he ceases to perform the duties of Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. See, the Vice President acts as the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Suppose the President dies, or there is certain some problem, the President is unwell or something, the Vice President is acting as the President. The moment the Vice President acts as the President, he stops being the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. Okay. Election. Method of election of Vice President is different from the President. Inasmuch as the state legislatures have no part in it, he is elected by the Electoral College consisting of the members of the both houses of the Parliament. His electoral college's composition is members of the both houses of the Parliament. Okay. Each nomination paper should be proposed by at least 20 electors or MPs, and another 20 electors should second the same. Earlier, the requirement was 5 proposers and 5 seconders. Now comes the powers and the functions of the Vice President of India. Constitution confers upon the Vice President of India to do the following duties. Number 1. The normal functions of the Vice President is to act as the ex officio Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. As Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, number 1, he regulates debates and proceedings of the House. He decides the order of the speeches. He decides the admissibility of a resolution or of questions, and may suspend or adjourn the business of the House in case of grave disorder. So he regulates the debates, he decides the admissibility of a resolution, suspend or adjourn the House if there is hue and cry, lot of disorder, jumping and shouting and howling. He issues directions to the chairpersons of various committees in matters relating to their work. The Vice President, as Chairman of the Rajya Sabha, shall not vote in the first instance. He is entitled to vote only when there is a tie in case of equality of votes for and against the proposal. Such vote is called a casting vote. So when there is a tie, the President votes. This is known as the casting vote. The President will take over the office. The Vice President will, did I say President before? Sorry. The Vice President can only vote if there is a tie. Such vote is known as a casting vote. The president will take over the office of the vice president. What is wrong with me? The vice president will take over the office of the president normally under three situations. Number one, death of the president. Number two, resignation of the president. Number three, removal of the president. And number four, when the president, owing to absence due to illness or any other cause, is unable to discharge his functions. In the event of the president's death, resignation, or removal, the vice president acts as the president until a new president is elected and enters upon his office. When the new member enters, the vice president who was then acting as the president becomes the vice president again. So with this, we come to the end of chapter 2. Very, very important chapter. Lot of questions are asked in your ICSE each year. So go through this chapter very well. The Union Executive, the President and the Vice President. How the President is elected, what are the functions, how the Vice President is elected, what are the functions, how the President is removed. And the composition of the Electoral College. These are often asked. Your work is solve the questions in your exercise copies. I am telling you 1,000 times, because until and unless you solve the questions and answers, you will not be able to memorize or remember what I have taught. Okay, that is all for today. Thank you.